We are going to call this meeting to order, special city council meeting on Wednesday, February 7th, 2021. Councilmember Green, will you lead the flag salute, please?
Absolutely, my pleasure. Put your hand over your heart, please. Repeat again.
Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Welty.
Here.
Mayor Castillo.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. For the city council agenda, Mr. City Manager, are there any changes?
No changes.
I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda, please,
Motion.
Second.
and a roll call vote.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve the agenda.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the public comment statement?
Thank you. Any person wishing to address the City Council on any matter on this agenda is asked to submit their comment electronically by sending an email to publiccomment@canyonlakeca.gov. Comments on items not on this agenda will not be taken at this special meeting. Public comments submitted through email should be no longer than 250 words and include the name of the person commenting on the agenda item number. We have no comments.
Okay, thank you. We have business item number 1, a resolution, and I believe there is a staff presentation.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. So I'm sure, as you will recall, at the council meeting earlier this month, the council approved an amendment to section 3.08.270 of the Canyon Lake Municipal Code. This amendment authorized the city to obtain materials, supplies, equipment, or services from a vendor selected in a competitive bidding procedure, at least equivalent to that required by this chapter at the same price as the entity which conducted the bidding. So this opened up the possibility for the city to participate in what is commonly known as piggybacking. And this resolution in front of you this evening would allow us to join. It's basically a cooperative program that's run by COG, a Council of Governments out of Texas, the Houston-Galveston Area Council of Governments. It's the largest of 24 COGs in Texas. It's been in existence for more than 40 years, and they have a cooperative purchasing program called HGAC Buy. So what we're proposing is that the city join HGAC Buy as an end user, or otherwise known as a member. And specifically, although HCA Buy offers numerous opportunities for the city in terms of procuring goods and services, in the short term, the city is looking to enter into lease purchase agreements for a Type 1 and a Type 6 fire engine, which will come later in the agenda this evening. But we're proposing to do those deals through HCA Buy. So before we can do that, we would have to join. And in order to join, HCA Buy requires a resolution of the City Council authorizing the city to join. Even though this organization is out of Texas, there are literally hundreds of California government entities that are members. And here locally, some of those include the County of Riverside, the cities of Corona, Hemet, Menifee, Moreno Valley, Murrieta, and Riverside, the Hemet Unified School District, Temecula Valley Unified School District, and others. There is no cost for membership. However, we do anticipate that joining will allow us to enjoy significant cost savings by purchasing through HCA Buy. So with that, staff recommends approval of resolution number 2021-04.
Okay. Is there any questions by
Just one comment, I think is long overdue. We should have probably had similar agreements in the past just to cover different purchases and things, and I think that's a good move in moving us into the progressive side of business and government.
Any others?
Just one comment. Awesome. I'll make the motion if anyone else has any more discussion.
Second it.
Jordan, did you have anything? Okay. Are there any public comments on this item?
No comments.
Okay. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Larry seconded.
Second.
Okay, great. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Walty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve resolution number 2021-04.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 2, staff presentation.
Yes, I'd like to ask our interim fire chief to make the presentation on this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, city staff, Jeff Latenish, your interim fire chief, and I am honored to be here tonight to bring you what's going to be the largest purchase, the largest procurement of equipment for your new fire department. And so at the end of this presentation, we'll be recommending that you go with a resolution 2021-05 and 06 and approve the purchases. So my report is I bring to you consideration an option for a lease purchase for a Type 1 and a Type 6 fire engine. The need to purchase these engines now is due to the time required to take delivery. It's not necessarily the time to build the engine. The engine building only takes about 4 months. But there's a lot of agencies in line to purchase the fire engine, so we have to get in line. And so we're a little bit behind. We're going to be rushing to try to get everything done. But we're hoping, and they have promised us, that we'll be able to take delivery of both the fire engines in the middle of November. Once the fire engines arrive, we still have to equip the engines, get the radios and everything working, put the mobile data computers in there, and then we have to train our people on how to work the apparatus. So there's still a lot of work that has to be done. It's for this reason that we chose South Coast Fire Apparatus out of Ontario to be our vendor for the purchase. They meet the city's need for delivering the required engines in time to be placed into service for January 1, 2022 for the start of our new fire department. First, I'd like to talk about our Type 1 engine. So there on the display, we have a drawing of what our engine is going to look like. It's being built by Pierce Manufacturing at their facilities in Appleton, Wisconsin. They've been in business since 1913, and they've been building fire engines since 1939. Kind of a little side note, one of the cousins of the founder of the company was the cousin to President Franklin Pierce. Today, Pierce is one of the leading manufacturers for fire apparatus in not only the United States, but they sell throughout the world. They build over 2,200 fire engines a year. Currently, I know of 4 agencies that are using Pierce fire apparatus here in Riverside County. They include the city of Riverside, Palm Springs, Cathedral City, and Murrieta. Both Murrieta and Riverside City are using the same new technology that we want to use for our new fire engine, and that's called a PUC, or a Pierce Ultimate Configuration. Delivery, as I said, is expected in the middle of November, and as the feasibility analysis conducted by ESCI identified, the purchase should include the equipment of self-contained breathing apparatus and a mobile radio. This purchase does include all of that equipment. One of the safety features we're trying to build into this fire engine is what we call a clean cab concept. So with the clean cab concept, when the firefighters go to a fire and they get their contaminated smoke all over their clothing, we don't want them driving around with those contaminants in the cab. So we've added special compartments on this fire engine so that the turnouts can go in the compartments and not into the cab, keeping those carcinogens away from our firefighters. This is one of the ways that we want to try to design one of the safest fire engines for our firefighters. While this picture that's up there is from the city of Compton, when our fire engine is done, it will look something like that one there. But ours hasn't been built yet, so it's just an example of what it will look like. Additional features involving the fire engine are the pre-connected tack lines that we pull off to fight a fire. Typically, they're up on top of the fire engine. On this engine, they're going to be located down lower at shoulder or chest height so that the firefighters can more effectively and safely pull those lines and attack the fire. The fire engine's equipped not only with a backup camera, but a camera on the right side of the fire engine. So when you turn on your blinker to make a right turn, the camera activates, a screen in the cab display turns on, and the driver is able to visualize the blind spot that's typically there on the right side of the fire engine. This fire engine has unique characteristics that's typically only found on wildland fire engines. It can pump and roll. A firefighter can be walking next to the fire engine with a hose line, fighting a brush fire while the engine is moving and pumping at the same time. It's typically only found on wildland fire engines. And to me, one of the most important features of this new fire engine is it has frontal airbags and side curtain airbags. It seems strange today that those are options in fire engines, but they are, and we wanted to afford our firefighters this protection so that we can make sure that they're safe. The total cost for the fire engine is about $720,000, which will be lease purchased for over a 10-year term with an annual payment of $84,151.24. At the end of the lease, we will own the fire engine. This cost is approximately $5,000 cheaper than what the ESCI feasibility study found, and about $2,000 cheaper a year in the lease payment. The next engine that we're talking about is our Type 6 wildland fire engine. Again, we use the same vendor, South Coast Fire Apparatus of Ontario, to make the purchase, and they're purchasing or having this engine built by Firematic, which is out of New York State. Firematic specializes in wildland fire equipment like this, in squads and patrols and smaller fire engines compared to the Type 1. They've been in business for over 50 years, and in some agencies here in California that have purchased from them include Riverside City, Kern County, Compton, and National City in San Diego. The engine we're requesting from them is called a BRAT, which is a Brush Rapid Attack Truck. With this engine, we also expect delivery in November. The engine will be built off of a Dodge 5500 diesel four-wheel drive, four-door crew cab, but it will only have seating for our 4 firefighters in there so we can put additional equipment inside the cab. While Type 6 wildland fire engines typically are designed for a single purpose of being a wildland fire engine with small pumps about 100 gallons per minute, we thought about trying to get some dual capability out of this fire engine. So we increased the pump capacity from 120 to 500 gallons per minute. Now this fire engine can not only have its mission uninterrupted for a wildland response, but if we needed to, we could use it to supplement a structure or any other type of response that we have. You can see it's got an area for a Stokes basket. If we were to get a remote rescue, a person falling off a horse or an ATV, we can take this vehicle off-road and we can drive out there with the Stokes and the medical equipment, and we can begin our treatment on the patient. The fire department can also use this vehicle during winter events, weather events. Santa Ana wind conditions, flooding conditions, storm conditions. We can staff up additional personnel on this apparatus, but typically it's what we would call it would be cross staff. So our firefighters would typically be on the Type 1 engine, and depending on the type of call, they could take either engine for the most appropriate response. The city of Murrieta is taking delivery of 2 very similar units to this, and the state of California just ordered 81 units just like this over a 3-year period of time. Granted, they were purchased by they were made by different vendors, but their purpose and their mission and their equipment are going to be very similar. They're Type 6 fire apparatus for wildland environment. This engine, though, came a little bit more expensive than what we had hoped. The cost is about $262,000, which is approximately $11,000 more than what was identified or programmed in the ESCI report. That cost is directly related to building a dual capability into the fire pump, which we fully support. The unit price does include a mobile radio, but it doesn't have any self-contained breathing apparatus or portable radios. In addition, a 10-year lease option wasn't available, so we had to go with a 7-year lease option for this vehicle. The annual payment of that 7-year lease will be $41,063.05. That's about $10,000 more than what the report had called out for. So we have a little bit of savings on one, a little bit more of an increase on the other. Our net is probably in the area of $8,000 to $9,000 of an increase that we're asking for. Both fire engines are being purchased under the cooperative agreement that was just approved earlier by HGAC Buy. At this point, I'd also like to point out that we've got all these nice compartments on the engines, but they're empty. And so we like to call fire engines toolboxes. So next fiscal year, we're going to be coming back to you and we're going to be asking for those tools to fill up the toolbox. Right now, I'm working on those tools and what it will cost so that we can have it in your next year's fiscal budget. It will be programmed and you'll know ahead of time of what everything is going to cost. So again, we'd like to, staff would recommend that you approve both Resolution 05 and 06 and that we move forward with the purchase of a Type 1 and a Type 6 fire engine. And that concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions if you have them.
I have a question. Something that's always kind of not bothered me, but been a consideration that I've thought of. We have a lot of flag lots in Canyon Lake. Can the second truck be something that could be used to access those flag lots?
So I'm sorry, I'm still new, so you're, what's the definition of a flag lot?
Where you go down either a steep driveway or a long driveway to a house that's in back of another house? Do you know what I mean now?
Yes, I do. So yes, it's a short wheelbase. It's a much shorter wheelbase than the other fire engine. And if you look at the drawing, it's kind of hard to see, but it's also attachment 10 in your handout. At the end, you'll see that the compartment is angled in the back. And that's done purposely to improve what we call the angle of departure. So it'll be able to go up steep curbs where there's a big dip, and it won't bottom out on either the front or the back. Another feature we did on this engine, a typical Dodge 5500 has a single or a dual tire on each side in the back. We've taken that dual tire out and put a big beefy single tire. So now when you go over rocks and stuff like that, you're not going to get a rock in between the duals that could cause damage and split and disable the vehicle out in the backcountry. So it's another added feature that we've added to this truck.
So it's not a dually?
It's not a dually, no. It's going to have 4 tires, 2 in front, 2 in back, but they're going to be beefier single tires than what you see there with a lift on it.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. The spec on the Type 1,
Yes.
is that a standard spec, or we use a Marietta spec, or is it just a manufacturer's spec?
It's a little bit of all the above. So when I first started working with them, I looked to see what they had in our price range and delivery time. And so it's being built on an Enforcer chassis. We're speccing the engine out for the city of Lompoc. At the same time, I got a copy of Murrieta's spec, and we changed a lot of the items that were originally in the Lompoc spec to match what was in the Murrieta. The chassis on Murrieta is different. They're using an Aero cab, and ours is an Enforcer cab, but the pumps and the light bars and the other major components of the engine are going to be identical to what Murrieta is using.
Okay, 1,500 single?
1,500 single-stage pump, yes,
And is
sir.
it going to have foam capability on the Type 1?
It's going to have foam capability, and it's also, and I didn't really say this, on both our Type 1 and our Type 6, it's going to carry hard suction hose. So we're going to be able to draft from any static water source, the lake being one of them, in the event of a disaster and we lose our hydrant
So I was
system.
looking at the sheet. Is the engineer panel inside that slide-up door?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay, got that. Well, I think you've answered, the graphics. Are we going to have to go to an outside vendor for graphics, or is it going to come from the manufacturer?
Everything on the graphics will be completed at the manufacturer. There will be a pre-construction conference with them that will
Okay.
occur in about 2 months, and at that time, all those things will be sorted out.
So we're going to do an acceptance test on it?
We are going to do a final inspection also, and it's our intent, whatever agency we get to do our maintenance of our fleet, it's our intention to invite them, and that price has already been included in the cost of the engine, to take the mechanic back with us for
Okay.
that final inspection.
Okay, got it. You answered the questions. I didn't see hard suction, so you must have got them buried someplace.
It's in what we call the coffin boxes up on top.
Okay.
But yes,
Fine.
2 hard suction, 10 feet each.
In what, go ahead, Dale. I'm done. I think the Type 6, is the state moving away from Type 3s?
The state is not necessarily moving away from Type 3s, but they're finding out that the Type 6s, one, are a lot more inexpensive, and they can go to a lot of areas where the Type 3s cannot go.
Okay.
So they're making a huge investment in Type 6s.
Good progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
A question, what's the life expectancy of this piece of equipment? We have a 10 and a 7-year lease. I'm optimistic, or I assume it's going to go beyond that.
So there's a national standard out there called NFPA, and this is built to NFPA standard 1901. And their recommendations are 10 years frontline and 5-year reserve. Now, depending on how hard you work the engine, you might decrease it. If this was in a very densely populated area that was running a whole lot of calls, you might beat it up a lot sooner than that. If you're only running 3 or 4 calls a day, you might be able to extend the lifetime. But typically, agencies look for a 10 to 12 front line and then about 5 years behind it for reserve time. It's kind of like our Engine 60 now. I believe it's 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a recommendation at that point that it become a reserve engine and discontinue its frontline use.
So getting another 20 years out of that's probably not going to happen, out of the 17-year-old one.
No.
I think 17 is, you should be happy to get 17. To get 20, you're probably pushing it a little bit. And it depends on when you have to buy your next engine of when you can move it into reserve too.
I think it's great. The 17 years was kind of amazing to me too, and clearly it's, we can't expect a whole lot more out of that.
I love the second fire truck so much.
I got a couple questions.
Yes.
You might,
Um,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
In regards to the Type 1, what is the power plant on that?
It is a Detroit diesel, 475 horsepower. The exact number I don't have memorized, but it's a Detroit power plant with the Allison transmission.
It's got the Allison in it.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is, you know, looking at the lease contracts, where's the warranty come into play?
The warranty is from the manufacturer directly, and then each different component from their manufacturers have different warranties. So for the water tank, for example, we have a lifetime warranty. On the Dodge chassis, we have a factory 3-year warranty on that. For the body of the Pierce cab, I believe it's a 10-year warranty on quality and everything like that, a 10-year warranty on the paint. So each different component has a different time frame depending on who made the component.
So the chassis requirement in regards to the Type 1 and the Type 6, are they both 3 years?
I believe on the Pierce it's longer. On the Dodge, the Type 6, it's a factory 3-year warranty from Dodge.
Okay, so they go out, BLM land, put a crack in the back of the chassis or, you know, bend the frame. It's under warranty?
That would be questionable. If it's a defect, it probably would be, but if we go out there and abuse it or misuse it, they would probably say that it was because of the use. So that would be an individual basis to figure that out.
So that'd be a fun conversation. That's also where insurance comes into play too, right?
Correct.
Okay. What's, you know, since we're talking about it, where's the insurance come into play with some of these, more importantly with the Type 6? I could see that, you know, being an issue. Say there's a response out in the BLM land and it's a rainy day and it's a mudslide and, you know, all hell breaks loose. It's all bad. What happens in that regards with, you know, and we're only a year or two into the lease. What happens there?
So with the BLM, they would be a signator of our master mutual aid contract through the state. We have not yet signed that yet. But typically, if it's damage in transit, portal to portal, that is not covered by the incident. Normally, damage done to an apparatus by the incident is covered by the incident. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of difficulty in getting to and from, but once you arrive on scene there, then the incident normally is responsible for anything done to that incident, and to the personnel also.
Makes sense. That's all the questions I had, Madam Mayor.
Jordan?
Just a couple of questions. I noticed that, and it may be insignificant, that radios are not included. Are there any other costs that are going to be involved with these engines over the next 10 years, other than unforeseen maintenance and what have you?
Well, as I identified, there's going to be significant cost in purchasing equipment for the 2 fire engines. There's no real equipment on them. It comes with ladders, pike poles, and the radio that we have in there. And on the Type 1, we actually were able to include the 4 breathing apparatus, which is different, and we actually have 4 spare bottles for that. But Halligan tools and axes and fire hose and nozzles and fire shelters, all of those things are not included. So that's going to be one cost, and then you'll have to maintain all that equipment. There will be some cost when the engine gets here with mounting that equipment also. So we'll need a mechanic or some specialty shop that will assist us in getting all the equipment mounted. Other than that, it should just be normal maintenance, wear and tear to maintain that apparatus.
So we know what those costs are going to be for all these extras?
I'm working on that now. I have built an equipment list. I met with a vendor last week and gave the equipment list to the vendor, and he is pricing everything out.
So over the period of the 10 years and the 7 years, the 2 engines are costing about $982,000, and the cost of the lease is about $150,000. So that's the cost that we know right now.
Correct, and in the program budget, even the budget that was prepared by the consultants, they factored, I want to believe, sir, about $25,000 to $30,000 a year in maintenance costs to maintain the fleet. And we expect to get a contract with someone, and it's going to probably follow their recommendation of quarterly maintenance, where they go through the engine's taken out of service, and they go through the engine very thoroughly and try to do preventative maintenance, so that hopefully they find a problem before it becomes a problem.
So the costs are not going to be a surprise. We're going to know what they are.
I believe so, yes,
To
sir.
budget for accordingly.
Yes, sir, for all the equipment, we're working on that now.
Okay, thank you.
Jordan, there is one other thing, and the chief will have to meet with current county folks, find out what inventory comes over, that's equipment, hose and stuff that's left. I don't believe they're using large diameter hose. I think it's about largest is 3-inch because the water system doesn't support it. But there should be some equipment left, and I believe that we have said that the equipment on it, and I don't know about the biomedical stuff, but we need to get into an agreement or in a discussion when they transition and do the cutover, how much are they taking out, what are they leaving? My understanding is the inventory on it, we've somewhat paid for, but I don't think that's concrete yet. So that's something that's got to be worked out.
And we've had those discussions already with the city manager and myself. In the report, there is a list of everything that's on the engine, and there is a list of everything that's in the shed in the back. And supposedly that list has already been identified as ours. Once we do meet with the county, we want to go through and do a more thorough inventory, a photographic inventory, so we can document everything and the condition that everything is in, so that we know what we need to purchase and what the condition of everything is.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, when we reopened Station 60, and I went to find our engine, which was at Paris, which is their maintenance yard, it had been stripped. It had been running as a reserve piece all over the place, and it was pretty much taken. So that had to be replenished, and whatever was left in the station, we did have some unfortunate accidents, meaning that people got in and took some stuff that was alleged, but as far as us being able to prove what was taken and what was left, it's been kind of difficult. So I do believe there have been some inventory sheets that have been generated, so that should be helpful to you. Also, Captain Carter's another good resource that might be able to help us on what we will retain. But I understand the equipment, you got a piece of equipment, you got an apparatus, you got to have the tools.
Correct. And so again,
NFPA has, for those that don't know it, it's a standard. It sets a standard for the fire trucks, it sets a standard for the equipment to carry, and it sets a standard for the type. In other words, a type 1 has a very specific function. Type 2s, 3s, and 4s, and 6s all have functions based on size, pumping capability. So we have to adhere to that standard for all the other OSHA and other requirements that are out there to make us in compliance with those standards that are accepted nationwide.
and I probably should have put that in there, but these fire apparatus are built and designed to meet all those current standards.
Yes.
Anyone else? Are there any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
Okay, I would start with a
Motion?
motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-05.
I will make that motion to approve adopting resolution 2021-05.
I'll second the motion.
And a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt resolution 2021-05.
And what about 6?
And now a motion and a second, please, to approve Resolution 2021-06.
Motion?
I think the mayor should second it, considering she's such a fanatic for type 6 trucks, right?
I love that truck.
I know you do.
Okay,
I
got it. She
I have
seconded.
been, I don't know. I just have been thinking about that for a long time. Those other fire trucks cannot go up to people
Yeah, that's a good
in
point.
steep areas, and it has always bothered me.
So are you the second?
I am the second.
Okay, go for it.
I roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aaron Kranz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt resolution number 2021-06.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Latendress, for that presentation. Okay, so moving on to number 3, mid-year budget. We have Terry Shea. Hi, Terry.
Technical difficulties, must be a budget issue.
Well, I don't know how to work
It
this
should be, it should be a
podcast.
solid red light.
Do you want, it's blinking.
So, yeah, that means it's on mute.
There we go. Now we got him.
Can you hear us? We can't hear you. Seems like a management analyst problem.
There we go.
Okay, I think we can, yes.
Much better.
Now we got you.
Okay, so, good. We were hoping you could give us a staff presentation on our mid-year budget.
It was going to be a lot shorter if you couldn't hear me. All right, can I share my screen?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, it's been disabled. Tyler, can you undisable me? Is Tyler there? Who's the host?
Yeah. Tyler's working on it.
Okay.
All right, Terry, you should be good to go.
Okay, give it a try, Terry.
All right. Let me do that now. I have so many things up. Let me find it. Okay, so here's the staff report. Back in June, the city council adopted a budget. General fund budget included $6,474,000 in revenues, $6,324,000 in expenditures, for a budgeted surplus of $149,830. Through December 30th, through December of this year, we've had additional appropriations of about $42,500 for protective window film, office equipment, more ECS imaging for the laser pitch, and then a new HVAC for City Hall, and also a WR-COG fellow, but I guess we're not going to spend the money on the WR-COG fellow this time. What I did is I took a look at the actual revenues we received to date and the actual expenditures. So actual revenues through December 20th, with projections for the remainder of the fiscal year, are higher than anticipated by about $441,000. The largest increases are in property transfer tax, which is what we get when a house sells. And then EMS subscription fee, which is higher than we expected, $50,000. The CARES Act grant, which was new this year, which we did not budget for $136,000. We didn't originally budget for the rental inspection fee, so we were projecting about $14,000. Construction building permits are up quite a bit, so an additional $60,000, but as you know, we lose 95% of that to expenses, so the expenses are up as well. The military banner program, we're budgeting an additional $7,000. So actual expenditures through December with projections for the remainder of the fiscal year are pretty in sync with the budget. We've had some items that we haven't spent this year due to COVID that have been reallocated to other items that haven't been spent yet. So we do have some increases. Workers' compensation was a lot higher this year and hit the council's thing a little higher, so we have a $1,000 increase there. We have additional $2,800 for meeting, taping, supplies, and presentation materials. Couple $100 in the city managers for 2 MMASC memberships. $1,000 in city managers for increased liability. The amounts were higher than we originally budgeted for. Data Ticket is now handling the EMS billing, and so that's an additional $500 for that. Additional $8,000 for military banner program out of the city clerk's department. And then in the finance department, additional $500 for memberships for Kayla and additional supplies. In the planning department, $5,000 for conceptual plan for a new park, and then $80,000 in the building department to match with the revenues that are up. So above, we budgeted more revenues. So $2,000 for fire code subscription in the fire department. $37,000 for the fire consultant interim chief through June, and then in the 520 department, $2,300 for equipment, and then additional. This is in code enforcement, and then $4,000 for maintenance on vehicles. With the new buildings, we have some increased janitorial costs, and then $10,000 appraisal for land acquisition for the parcel. So if you have any questions on any of these adjustments, let me know. So if the council were to approve these, our revenues would go up a little, and then our surplus would go from 107 to a surplus of 248, 29928. And then I have this schedule here, which I will share.
Terry, if I may, just real briefly, Terry's so understated. Just like to emphasize,
I know. Did I
$248,000 surplus is now what we're projecting.
Wait, a bigger surplus.
A bigger surplus by about $100,000 than what, and of course, keep in mind that when we put together the original budget, we didn't know that COVID was coming.
Yeah. I do have a,
Yes, we would have a bigger surplus because one part the CARES Act, and then the revenues are up quite a bit, so.
I don't,
So this schedule in here, you can see where I have year-to-date actual revenues through June, or through December, $1,928,000. I project just under $5 million for a new total of $6.9 million. The amended budget is $6,704,000. This is typically normal at this time to be at 29% because we get our big payments in January. And so we get a bulk of our money in January and May, so that 29%, 30% is always where we're at that time of the year. So that's why I have a variance of about $441,000 in revenues. But I didn't increase all the revenues, just a few of them, not all of them. And then you can see for city council, projected at about 106, original budget 134, so we're going to have some savings there. City attorney are going to be, with the adjusted budget, hopefully will be that $48 thing. City manager, right now, projecting about $556,000, and budget $574, so a little bit of a surplus. City clerk,
Just a clarification,
projecting at $230.
Terry.
Budget at $239, so a surplus of just under 10.
Terry, just a clarification that these
Go
are
ahead.
department budgets, not
individual
individual
salaries.
salary budget. That's something that we get questions on frequently. People look at that and they say, "Oh my gosh, you're paying your city manager $400,000." No, that's the entire department budget. So, for example, the city manager's department includes the positions of the city manager, of the administrative services manager, or management analyst. Also, a lot of the general expenses of the city are under that department, office supplies and whatnot. Same thing in the city clerk's office. It's not just the individual salary, but it's also the programs that are under that department. And so I just wanted to make that clarification.
Same clarification for city council too. I know we got a newly elected here, but Dale, I don't know where the 134,000 is going for your monthly, so.
You're making an awful lot of money,
Yeah, I
Dale.
don't know what happened. He gets elected now, it's, it's
Yeah.
gone up by, so same thing, same issue.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Please go on.
I could hardly hear that, but hopefully Chris answered your questions, so. So finance, right on budget. Planning, we haven't spent a lot of the special items, but I talked with the planner and he said those are coming. So I think we're right on track there. Building and safety, you can see with the increased activity, and that's why we increased that department by 80,000. Law enforcement, it kind of took what we're paying now per month, per day, and then it stretched it out, and it looks like, and I put in that 4% or 3, I think it was a 3% increase, 4% increase.
4%.
And so I think we're gonna have a surplus of about 122,000. And then for fire, I estimated the second, we only have one invoice in now, so I estimated the second, third, and fourth quarters at the original budget amount. And then that first quarter was a lot less due to the CAL FIRE employees taking reduced pay. And so I think we're gonna have about 117,000 there, but we're gonna be over in operations and materials, and that's why we have that budget adjustment for the new contract fire chief, and then some station upgrades. Emergency preparedness, that's tracking nicely. Animal control, I think we're gonna have a little bit of a savings there. Public works, they don't do a lot of work or bill us, so I think we'll have some savings there. NPDES, we're right at where we're gonna be probably with the small savings. And special enforcement, that is also doing well. And then operations and materials, gonna be a little bit over, but I think with the other department savings will be fine. So any questions on these different departments?
Terry, remember that we need to eliminate all references to special enforcement, so please change that to code enforcement on your documents.
Oh, I thought I changed that, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll update that, so, old habits. And then I'll show you one more screen. And these are the actual budget adjustments. So you can see we're increasing revenues, 296,000. So total revenues just a little bit over 6,770,000. We're increasing expenditures 155,000, which then takes our adjusted general fund budget surplus to just under 250,000. And so everything really is tracking nicely with the original budget, so I think we're right on schedule.
Good.
Any questions on any of these items? You guys are too easy on me.
Terry, what's our reserve setting right now?
Terry, I'm not sure if you heard that. Councilman Green was asking where our reserves are as of today?
How much our reserve fund in the general fund is?
Yes.
If you have 1 second, I can look that up, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
While he's doing that,
Oh.
we had talked about the building department taking 95% of our revenue that comes in. How have we been able to find a solution to that equation? Or, I mean, we talked about at one time maybe joining with Wildemar, or maybe sharing an inspector, or joining forces with someone else.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. On the upside, our activity in the building department has remained steady. We've had, in fact, we've increased revenue through the department. The downside is that we've had to increase our expenditures because they take 95% of every dollar that goes through there. They have, we had that discussion with them. We've had it multiple times. Our current vendor is unwilling to come down significantly from the 95%. After discussing it at length with them, they said that maybe they could come down to 90%. So It is an issue that we plan to take up. It was adopted as one of the goals for the city this year to revamp and improve operations there. So it's actively being worked on.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's interesting that they're holding at that number, because at one time we had them a little over 70-some %, and unfortunately, that wasn't.
72%.
Yeah,
You
and,
and
well,
I were-
you and
yeah.
I were working on that. Unfortunately, we didn't get the deal linked soon enough,
Yeah.
so. All right, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Our general fund reserve at June 30th, 2020 was just under 4.1 million. And then with the 250, so we'll be at we're projecting 4.3 million at the end of the year.
Thanks, Terry.
Any other questions, Dale, Jeremy, Jordan?
To page 76. Something maybe I've missed somewhere along the line. Item number 8, $5,000 for a conceptual plan for a new park. What is that?
That's in relation to what we're looking at over by the BLM property. To start getting some ideas of uses. We've also been in talks with a potential development partner. And so one of the first steps is that we have to start conceptualizing what the city's uses might be there. So this is the first step there that we want to get started on towards the end of this fiscal year, and there'll be a lot more on that as we get into next fiscal year. But it's the first step related to that area over there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed that conversation someplace. But thank you.
Any other questions? Jeremy, Dale?
I guess my only comment, it's great to be running a little bit of a surplus. Again, I remember the years where we was sweating whether we were going to be a city in 4 years, and it's just amazing to me. And I just got to say, you guys, thanks for bringing that all around.
Thank you.
It is a very fun budget meeting, as opposed to a bad news budget meeting. To see that, I'm grateful for it. And I also think it just gives us options, right? For continued growth and prosperity.
Yes.
Anything else? Thank you, Terry. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Terry.
Beyond
Thank you.
council comments, are there any public comment?
We have no public comments.
Okay, so what I would need at this point is a motion and a second to approve the budget adjustments in the mid-year budget.
So
make-
moved.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Councilmember Aaron Krantz.
Aye.
Councilmember Green.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Welty.
Hi.
Mayor Castillo.
Aye.
Motion carried.
So then at this.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and thank you, staff. At this point, I guess we just announced our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, March 3rd at 5 PM for closed session, 6:30 for open session, and.
Madam Mayor, may I make an announcement?
Oh, please do.
Just because I know that our working class here in the community, 80% of us commute on the roads. So I just want to give a little quick update for your Ortega Highway folks. Construction is going to be beginning between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. on the Ortega Highway. So be mindful of that. You're going to have traffic delays. And our lovely project over by Walmart, you're going to be seeing the construction from the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. start to reduce. That project's coming to an end, and I think we're all going to be very happy about that. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for that. I know that there are a lot of commuters who are interested in that information. We will be adjourning. It is now 6:49.